For me, journeys, and you'll have seen it through the masterclass, journeys are one of the core tools that people use when they're talking about experience. And journeys are incredibly versatile. So whether I want to map a journey for a supporter, a patient, a member, a customer, a partner, a stakeholder, they're a way of actually stepping inside the way that somebody has an interaction with your organization. Now, you can also map colleague journeys as well, so you can see what it looks like for your own colleagues and the experiences that they have within your organization. I think what I'd like to focus the conversation on today is, as we do the mapping, actually, how do we make sure you get results? How do we make sure that there's an impact, there's a difference around it? And whether that difference is identifying and making an improvement, or whether that difference is connecting the North Star and the voice of the customer into the journey, or whether that difference is using it as a communication vehicle. We want to talk about, I think, less about actually how do I do the journey, but more about how do I use this to make a difference. So if I'm talking to customers or partners or members, and I'm taking this tool and starting to use it with my colleagues, how do I actually start to make sure I drive towards results around it? So my suggestion for today is that we use that as our focus, because I think that's what each of your execs are holding you to account over. They're holding you to account over the delivery of results from experience. They're looking for the impact associated with this. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So we do a lot of this work around journeys. And I guess what I would like to start with is journeys come in all different shapes and sizes. But actually, if we were to fast forward and think about what makes journeys good, and then we'll talk about each of these different areas. So accuracy is important. Okay. So, when you go to map a journey, and whether that's the I'm moving house journey, or I'm moving in journey, or I'm starting with my new employer journey, or I'm making a donation journey, whatever that journey is, it needs to be factually correct. So what does that mean? That means that actually you've gone and you've put on the shoes of your member, your partner, your customer, and you've literally walked that journey. Okay, you've not made assumptions, because often we can assume that what happens is different than the reality of what's happening. We were working with a large banking organization, and I remember sitting with the exec team, and they were talking about their opening an account journey. A very important journey for people that are joining a bank. And I asked the question, so when was the last time you opened an account in your bank? And the most recent time was 25 years ago. And so, just remember that actually we think we know a lot of these journeys, but we're probably quite detached from it. So accuracy is really important, and going and seeing is really important around it. The second question we're often asked is, okay, so how much detail do we need? And that's a difficult question to answer, okay? And the way that I look at it is, I say an end-to-end journey probably has 5 to 8 stages associated with it. And each stage has 5 to 8 touch points associated with it, okay? So if you remember that rubric, that metric of 5 to 8, that'll avoid you going too detailed. It'll also keep you at a level that's actually helpful, so that you're getting enough coverage around it. It's comprehensive enough without actually getting lost in some of the details. So 5 to 8 stages in a journey, and 5 to 8 touch points associated with each stage. The next one is, a lot of people talk to us about format. And my response is, it just needs to be usable. So whether you happen to use a There's lots of technology that exists out there that enables journeys to be mapped, yeah? Or whether you have an Excel spreadsheet, yeah, that captures the journey. It doesn't actually matter to me, okay? It's to make sure that actually you're developing it in a format that's usable. Yeah. Now we happen to use, as you'll have seen in the masterclass, mural or mural boards, yeah, because we just find that's a great way to collaborate, yeah, around. So find the format that works for you and your organization around it. I would be hesitant about jumping towards a technology solution first off, because I think you want to play around a little bit with and find out, yeah, what works for you, yeah, and what's going to work in your organization and your culture with your colleagues around it. The fourth area is around making sure that journeys are scalable. So the way that I think about that is templates. I mean, if you think about the number of journeys that you have inside of your organization, there'll be several, okay? And so if they were consistently getting produced, that would be helpful. And Odette, I mean, one of the things that you might want to start thinking about with your partners is there something that you can be providing to your partners that gives them a standard template? Yeah, so they're consistently producing a journey in a way around it. And similar units across the LexisNexis portfolio, yeah, I mean, there's multiple businesses that are sitting there, yeah? Is there a common way of doing journeys that people go, okay, I don't need to think about how to do a journey. What I can do is actually I can think about using this template, and therefore my energy, yeah, is into completing the journey rather than how do I sketch this out. Yeah, so the energy is in the application rather than thinking through a template around it. A couple of other things that we see around journeys. When journeys are most powerful is actually when they're being used. I know it sounds common sense, yeah, but I often see journeys that are on a wall, or I see journeys that have been beautifully digitally produced, yeah, but actually people aren't using them. Okay, what you want to see is journeys, however they're being shared and however they're being used, is actually that people are using them. Yeah, they're going back to them and starting to identify areas of opportunity, starting to look at performance associated with it. They become a tool that's actually becomes applied around it. So they're adopted and they're used. They're part of the language that we have, how we talk about the business. The next area in terms of what good looks like is that journeys really must connect to the North Star. We see a lot of businesses that we work with who go, we've got customer journeys, and a lot of them are product maps or process maps. So what they miss actually is they miss that element of actually this is what your customer is experiencing with you. And what they often miss is, even if they've got the customer, they miss the aspect around the emotional side of that. And you'll have talked in the masterclass around just how important the emotional aspect of the experience is. Yeah, people forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they will never ever forget how you made them feel. Okay, so customers, members, partners, supporters, really understanding how they value feeling is a really important element to connect into the journeys around it. And the final point around journeys that we see that's really important is making sure that the journeys are, I've called it timely, but if you're making changes to the journey, that they're updated on a periodic basis. Okay, so it's not a one and done activity. We produce the journey, ta-da, everything's okay. Actually, what we do is we produce that journey, we make some improvements, and maybe it's every quarter or every 6 months, we just refresh that. Yeah, we capture the changes that have been made, so we've got something that's updated around it. So there are 7 characteristics that we see in terms of if you're wanting to drive journeys in your part of the organization, things that are really, really important, yeah, in terms of good aspects, attributes, yeah, what to look for when you're seeing a journey around that. Any questions around that? Okay, let's then talk about just a couple of very practical examples, yeah, when you start to think about journeys. So recognize that actually, particularly with experience, for me, journeys is a word that I'm not sure it existed 5 years ago or 8 years ago. Yeah. But yet now everybody seems to be talking about journeys. Okay. Every change process is a journey that we're going through. Yeah. Our customers are going through journeys. Members are having journeys. Yeah. But there's lots and lots of people are talking about journeys. And so it's really important for yourselves as leaders in customer experience to actually make sure that what you're doing is you've got a definition, yeah, around journey. So journey is not an organizational process. It's not a product flow. It's not a process flow. It's the path that your customers walk or your members walk. Yeah? So the way I describe it often is to say, okay, I want you to grab a pair of trainers or stilettos or boots or Crocs or whatever, yeah, shoes, yeah, your customers happen to be wearing, and actually go and walk that. Go and see the reality of the journey that they want to have and the journey they're actually having around it. And so do that from end to end as well. Because one of the things is your customer's journey will start earlier than you think it does. So think about your own shopping activities just now. If you are wanting to purchase a new, I don't know, bed, okay, then probably, well, let me ask, Odette, if you were to purchase a bed, what's the first thing that you do?
It wouldn't be lie on the new sorry, I was like, try it out. No, I would probably do some research on, you know, for a side sleeper, what kind of mattress might work. So be researching first. Great.
So you've not actually the brand, yeah, who happens to manufacture or sell these beds. Yeah, your journey starts way before you start to engage with them around it. So one of the things to understand about that journey is it probably starts before. So Anna, if you think about the members, yeah, with the credit union, for new members coming to the credit union, they're probably considering different credit unions, different choices, yeah, around it. So their journey is upstream of when they actually start to engage with yourself around it. So really, really important that actually, you know, when you're putting those shoes on, you go back, yeah, and think about the bed example, yeah. I mean, you know, the journey starts way before, yeah, around it. And often it starts digitally, yeah, in today's world, okay? And there's some crazy statistics that talk about 60% of purchase decisions are getting made before actually the engagement happens with the brand. Okay. The other thing is make sure you walk to the end of the journey, okay? Because your customer's coming to do something with you. And I remember at Shell when we started to really map the journeys, we thought that people came to a petrol station to buy petrol or diesel. Actually, the journey that those customers are going on is nothing to do with buying petrol or diesel. The journey that those customers are going on is they're commuting, or they're taking their kids to soccer practice, or they're going on holiday. They just happen to need the car as transportation, and they happen to need to put fuel into the car to allow them to complete that journey. But the journey is nothing to do, yeah? I mean, it's only a tiny part of it that actually interacts, yeah, with the petrol station. So think about seeing it really from their shoes, yeah? So you see that entirety around the end to end, around it. And that's an area where you can really help your colleagues, yeah, by just lifting their, you know, lifting their eyelids a little bit, yeah, and seeing it differently, yeah, talking through some of the personal examples, because your customers will come in and out of your, they'll go through a journey that actually I would imagine extends beyond where you think it starts and where you think it ends around it.
Mark, can I ask a question and just do a little bit of sharing as well, because something today is actually really relevant to this. We're looking at, you know, the training and enablement journey for a particular partner on a particular project. And before the training journey, there's a sales enablement journey where the partner gets to understand, you know, the concepts and purpose and, you know, how we can help. So there's that bit that needs to happen before. And then after the training and enablement in the platform, there's also the bit that has to happen afterwards, which is, okay, now we're building a solution for, you know, with the partner, and, you know, they need to have a handover of their like custom little bits. And so there's some training journey that also happens afterwards. And so that's the kind of sharing I kind of get, you know, there's before my particular journey and after, and that affects the whole experience this partner is having. But how do you contain the scope and what's manageable and what's achievable? Because I'm just kind of looking up the chain at like bits of the journey that are happening there and bits of the journey after the chain, and I'm going, I really need to deliver this bit, and I really need to focus so that we can make this bit good. But, you know, I guess that's part of the challenge. That's the heading of the slide, but I don't know. That's kind of my experience right now.
Great. So I saw a couple of other people nod as well, Odette, as you were telling that story. So I'm sure, yeah, it's resonating with others. So define a start and an end, okay? Because otherwise you'll keep chasing, yeah, this as far as it goes, okay? So there's two things that you're doing here. One is you're helping people raise their vistas so they recognize that actually it extends beyond. But equally, world hunger is not today's challenge that we're going to solve. Okay, so you define a start and you define an end point around it. And you know, that becomes the journey that you map. You can always come back. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of rolling my sleeves up here to go, actually, we defined the start in the wrong place. We need to go earlier on. Okay. Or we've defined the end point too soon. And one of the things that often happens with a training journey is people talk about the training being complete. Well, I remember my son's journey to learning how to drive. And he did his theory test in the UK. In the UK, you do a theory test and you do a practical test. He did his theory test. Tick. I can now drive, Dad. Well, there's a whole different bit around applying that theory to actually help you learn how to drive. And I think in the training journey, Odette, just think about, you know, because your customer's not necessarily wanting to be trained, they're wanting to do something with that training inside of their business. So if you can connect it to a point that actually is meaningful to them, then you see when that training and enablement is actually coming to fruition around it, because that's what they're doing it. They're doing the training and enablement in order to do something around their journey. That makes sense?
Yeah, that's actually true. If you tie the beginning and the end as much as possible to trying to help them with what they're trying to accomplish in that journey, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Eunice.
Yes, Mark, I also just want to share that vision about a broader journey, bigger than what you have a responsibility for. Like in Shell, people would drive up to the stores to get fuel, but that really is just part of a journey. And that made me think, like we always think that customer success, you are the end of their journey, but really understanding what your customers see as their destination, you are truly just a pass-through, an enabler to get on that tiny bit of, you know, a phase out of maybe 8 phases in their own journey. And having that understanding helped me see how to better facilitate CJMs, right? To help them view truly what the customer sees and experience in their journey, instead of just we're self-centered and we're just thinking about their relationship with LNRS or LexisNexis. So I'm really grateful for that. It really throws in, you know, a bit more broader view of what we're trying to do here and truly becoming more customer-centric. It's very helpful.
And I mean, Anna, if you were to take, you know, the credit union business, then I would imagine people, the journey that I'm going through is I want financial security. or I want confidence around my investments. I'm saving for something, or I'm wanting to buy my house of a lifetime. Yeah. So it's much more than opening a product. Yeah, I'm opening a bank account, or I'm taking out a wealth management product, or I'm insuring something around it. Yeah, there's something broader from a consumer, customer, member perspective, yeah, around that.
Yes, as you were talking, I was thinking about someone who's trying to take their kid to college and they're wanting to open another account for their young adult because they're about to go off to college. That's what it made me think of, like, whoa, we're just a piece of that big puzzle of what that family is actually having to go through. They're not just looking for a financial institution to get another checking account or savings account or a credit card. There's so many other things that are happening at that time for that particular family or customer.
Okay. So do that, define the start and the end associated with it, because you've got to watch, as Odette said, that you don't start chasing everything around it. So we keep it contained, but do really think about it from the customer's perspective around it. Here's just a couple of examples of things that that we see as good examples. I like this one. This happens to be an employee's journey. Okay. Couple of things I really like about this is it's built for a particular persona. Okay, so there's a person here, Robin. There's some information about Robin. So immediately I can start to understand Robin's journey. Okay, it's not an onboarding journey, or an agent's journey. It's Robin's journey. And so that draws me in, that emotional connection. I get drawn into this immediately around it. Odette, as you talked about earlier, it's got a start and an end to it. So this happens to be a financial services example. It starts with assessing client needs, and they've decided it finishes with acceptance around it. What's great is, and I think Maria, you might have talked about the voice of the customer. Actually, there's wording in here that captures exactly what Robin's thinking at each stage. Okay, so it brings it to life. It makes it real around it. So the questions that she's asking, the statements that she would be making around it is making it very real and pertinent around it. And you can start to see where there is pain or frustration, or there's a gap in the experience in terms of where to start to focus. So whilst we've started to understand the totality, it allows us to narrow in terms of where we're going. Very different example, but I like this one as well, because what this does is this happens to show again the segment. So I can start to see that there's a customer aspect associated with it. This is an insurance one around it. If you look at the bottom, what it does is it actually links the particular pain points, and it shows you the data associated with it. So what it's now doing is bringing the operational data, whether that's voice of customer or operational data, in, and it's linking and it's showing the reality of what's happening in there. Because remember, we always map the desired path. We map the happy path around it, and we look for the difference about where there's a gap. This one happens to show that it goes across different channels, but also it shows that this is one of the few examples I've seen where actually I think about the time it takes to pass through different stages. So awareness is 1 week, research is 2 to 3 weeks, choice is 1 week, and purchase is a day. So time is important as you go through this journey. Now that might be relevant in your own business, to actually understand that at certain stages, speed or expectation management is important as you go through this. Okay, so you can start to see that I can put additional information onto the journey that starts to bring it to life and make it really useful for colleagues in identifying areas to improve, in connecting it with customers, and starting to look for different operational and customer feedback data around it. The third example of what's good is, I mean, this happens to be a tax claim, housing benefit that we did. This is Excel. Okay, I love the fact that it's simple. Okay, and I could just imagine that a few folks were sitting around with a laptop and we're just keying this away. So it doesn't need big workshops and lots of fancy tech and whatever else around it. They've done it in a way that's meaningful for them, so they've just used emojis to characterize the emotions of what's happening around it. This is a great example because it's in customers' language. A lot of the time when people do customer journey maps, they forget that actually it is your customer's journey. It's not your journey or your understanding of your customer's journey. It's their journey they're going through. So you need to write it in their language. And one of the best ways of doing that is to write it as with I. I felt lost. I would like to. I have a small child. I prefer to have. I arrived. So you're really centering it around the experience that happens. That's there. So 3 very, very different types of journeys that are there. And you see, some strong things around connecting to the persona, defining the start and end, the level of complexity. We talked about that 5 to 8. You see, these aren't dropping down into the minutiae in terms of what's getting done around it. And they're starting to overlay data around it. So this is, I mean, if you did the masterclass, you'll have gone through, you'll have met AJ and Jenny, I assume, from the Zumo school. No, did you meet AJ and Jenny? Ah, okay, all right. So most of us either have children or remember when we went to school, or have nieces, nephews, or friends of the family that go to school. So this happens to be a couple who are looking for a new school for their daughter. And you can imagine that in that process, what they do is they go through, I'm aware. So I become aware of the schools that I could, that are available. I inquire would be the next stage. So I ask to see who's got availability, who's got space, etc. around it. And in that inquiry, I would also decide where my daughter is going to go to school. I start, so my daughter starts school around that. She then attends, so she goes day after day, week after week, month after month, hopefully, around it. And then she re-enrolls, she decides that actually next semester or next term or next year, she's going to continue in the school around it. What I like about this is, I mean, this is an end-to-end journey for looking at a school activity. So you've got 5 stages. We talked about that 5 to 8 at level 1. So you see the 5 stages that are there. You see the journeys that sit below the stages. So you start to see, well, hang on a minute, okay, I've broken that down, but I'm still not. It's still, I mean, the maximum here is 4. But I've not. It doesn't need to be split out into really small levels around it. But what I've done is I've actually, because I know the persona, and this happens to be 2 parents, AJ and Jenny, I understand what the experience is that they want, the rational side of this, and how they want to feel as they go through it. So if you imagine yourself, if you're thinking about a new school, you want to feel confident in the choice that you're making. You want to feel empowered, that you can make that choice. And so what you've got here is the combination of the rational, I need to know enough to decide, and the emotional side of that, I feel empowered around it. So when you're looking at journeys, really do start at that, think about, okay, defining that journey, the start and the end, starting to map the level 1 and level 2 stages, as we call it, yeah, so the stages and the sub-journeys. And then for the personas that you've got, really making sure that you've got that emotional and rational aspect associated with the journeys. Now, this is the desired state. It's not the reality of what's happening. It's the desired state. And that's a really important difference. It's not until you drop down one level that actually we start to then talk about what's the reality. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if we were to take that inquire stage, yeah, and we were to take a specific journey, I visit the school, then from the headline map, we saw that actually AJ and Jenny wanted to know enough information to decide, and they wanted to feel empowered, yeah, around it. So now what I can do is I can drop down into the touch points. Every level, every time I drop down a level, I'm making sure that there's no more than 5 to 8, yeah, that's steps, touch points in this case, that I blow it out to. Okay. And this is where level 3 and below, this is where you map the reality. So we often get a lot of questions around, well, hang on a minute, when I look at journeys, am I mapping the to be, the as is, the happy state, the desired state? Yeah, well, what is it that I'm mapping? And the answer is at level 1 and level 2, you map the desired state. Yeah, so this is what should happen. This is how your customers want to interact with you. At level 3, you map the reality. So you see here that anxious, yeah, you see here that actually time is an issue. You'll see here that, you know, the different channels that people are engaged through. So level 3 and below is the reality, the as is around it. And that allows you to go, okay, now what I can start to do is I can start to identify the areas that need to be improved. Because I've got it at a level that's specific enough. And I've also got it at a level where I can identify not just pain points, but I can identify signature moments, moments that matter. And Odette, I would think in your business that there are, I mean, in every business, but I mean, that there are real signature moments, for example, that are Ulterian, yeah, want to go, you know, people go, wow, okay, you know, that was an Ulterian moment, yeah, and it was really good. And it might be the initial training, it might be the follow through. There'll be specific points in the journey, yeah, where you wow, where you deliberately wow your customers around it. Any questions around the difference between level 1, 2, and 3 and how you start to build out a journey? Is
No
this
question.
different
I
to what
really
you...
like this one though. This one I really like because I feel like it really shows what the pain points were and like the solutions. So I really like that about this one. I think sometimes, at least in my experience, maybe we're missing that connection. Like this is what we're doing wrong and this is what we could be doing better.
Yeah, so Anna, I mean, if you look at, I mean, if you look at that first column, yeah, so, you know, you've got parents who are contacting a school, they want to arrange a tour, they're feeling a little anxious because, you know, they're wanting to get this resolved around it, but they're not getting any answer or no reply to the inquiries, yeah, that are there. And so you could then start to, as you say, you could then start to say, okay, we recognize that that's inconsistent with the experience that AJ and Jenny value. That's inconsistent with the experience we as a school want to deliver. And I'm sure if we were to start to think about redesigning that, we could think about a whole variety of different things you could do there, yeah, around it. You know, you could have, you know, we could make sure that we've got a person 24/7, yeah, that's always going to be available, yeah, around it. We could have an answer phone that's there. We could have a web form that you fill in. We could have a, you know, we're sorry you're not there, but watch this video, yeah. around it. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole series of things, yeah, that we could start to address, yeah, start to identify around it. Equally, if you look at the fourth column, you know, I visit the school and I meet the teachers and I see the facilities. You know, I'm excited about that because it brings the experience to life for me. That could be a real signature moment. Yeah, we could do that better than any other school. We could do it differently to any other school. Yeah, that's around it. And equally, you and your businesses could do it differently to any of your competitors. If you can identify those touch points that really, really matter, then what you've got is you've got a real opportunity to wow. And one of the things that we see lots of companies do is they only focus on the pain, the gaps. That's important, but don't forget the signature moments, yeah? The what makes Alterian, yeah, so good, or what makes LexisNexis so good, yeah, around it. Because it won't be the totality of the journey, it'll be signature points, yeah, inside of the journey. And if you relate it back to your own experience, you know, who's brilliant at this? Some of the airlines, yeah, recognize that you're a loyal member and they will welcome you back on the plane when they see your boarding card. They'll say, hello, Dominique, yeah, lovely to see you again. That, yeah, is a deliberately designed experience, yeah, to recognize loyal customers when they step onto the plane around it. And that's a comparatively easy thing to do, but it has a significant impact, yeah, around being recognized. Okay, a couple of tips if you're doing this work. We talked about templates or having a standard form. I can share this material afterwards, and you know, it's find a form that works for you, yeah, a way of mapping journeys, and it's consistent for you around your business. And if you are offering that as a service to others, we would suggest that actually you also make sure it's consistent for them as well. So thinking about partners, yeah, you might want a consistent approach around it. A journey map, yeah, I call them scruffy, yeah, whatever the digital equivalent of scruffy is, but you know, just that they're being used. Okay, that's a really good journey map when they are being used, yeah, around it. We see too many people, too many customer experience leaders thinking about how am I going to make this look pretty? How am I going to visualize it? Yeah, there is an element of that that's important, particularly when you're thinking about the changes that you're going to make and you're going to want to engage people around the 2B. But don't spend your time polishing, yeah, making it look pretty, okay? Because it doesn't actually drive any improvement around the journey. Once you've defined the start and the end of the journey, make sure you've got the right people in the room. Okay. And the beauty about journeys is, you know, it's unlikely that one team, yeah, one department, one part of the business represents the entire journey. So you need to pull people in, yeah, from different parts. You may also want to go and understand, if you can't bring the customer in or the member in or the partner in, is actually go and see that journey for yourself. Yeah, because the risk that we all make as employees is that actually we assume that, yeah, aspects of the journey occur in a particular way when the reality is they're not. Always, always, always use your customer's language. So think about whether it was Robin or AJ and Jenny, yeah. You know, think about the persona and what is it that they would say and write it from their behalf around it. And communicate, share the journeys, yeah, and share the improvements that are getting made around the journeys. Use the journeys as a vehicle, yeah, for talking about, so that people know that actually they can take it, they see the role that they play in it, they see the role their department plays in it, and they see the improvements that are being made around it. So we covered off we started with a number of areas in terms of what good looks like. Just as a reminder, we've talked through different aspects of the journey. We've talked through examples that you've brought to life, yeah, around this and how it might fly. What else is on your minds? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about today or ask today?
Not really a question, Mark, but I like the emphasis on the signature moments that can be aligned with your brand promise, right? Like what you said, every sub journey might have 5 or 8 touch points, right? But you want to identify what those signature moments are. In fact, during this session, I'm just chatting with another team member, and I said, hey, we might have to create folders for the sub journeys so we can break down the touch points in detail. Because as we were going through our customer journey mapping, again, I don't have Neural. Our organization encourages us to use our own whiteboard that's attached to Teams, right? Just to be prudent. So, and I can't wait until I have that technology. So we're just using Excel for now, using the same format that we took from the CX Masterclass and broke it down that way. It looks messy, right? And it's hard when you're facilitating that meeting and people are putting in their inputs. You mess the, the size of your cells and all of that. And that's, how do we do this? I see, right? So that team member and I would go back and clean it up a bit so it makes sense to them. We try to simplify the process for them so they can start focusing on the content, right? Eye-opening for me is that L3 touch point. We struggled with that because we were saying for the L2 sub journey, we want the desired state. And then we got stuck on the touch points like, okay, we want, as a customer, I'd feel curious around this stage, but then are they really curious, right? It's almost like assumptions like that. So where do we map that? And this is, to me, it makes sense. Like we want to capture at L3 what the actual feeling is, the actual experience is. And that, I think that's how you bridge the gap from their desired state from the actual. And then, it's also not uncommon, Mark, that we start hearing solutions, right? Why don't we do this and this? Or, you know what, I don't know exactly how the customers experience our website. So why don't we go in as a customer, click on this? Ooh, I can't find what I'm hoping to find. This is not useful. It's more product centric than it is a customer issue centric, right? So we're starting to solution and we're trying to bring the people back into, let's build a spine. Let's try to go left to right and then break down the touch points further and then find some solutions there or great ideas. So it really helps us build the energy around it. And I tried what I learned in the masterclass by asking them about emotions, how they feel at the beginning of the session. And I tell you the reaction I get from them, why are we talking about feelings here, right? But it helps, it really helps set the mood throughout the entire workshop. So I'm just grateful for this model. Thank you. It's working so far, and we barely hit the entire journey. We're just in pre-sales and sales for now, and we're having great conversations so far.
It's funny, that question, isn't it? When we ask people, how are you feeling? And we do it at home and it's okay, but as soon as we do it in the office, we sort of shuffle a little bit and go, I'm not sure I can talk about that. Or my response is, yeah, I feel okay, or I feel good. Yeah, it's a sort of bland, don't ask me any more about it. Yeah.
In Spanish, we said, do you want the true or do you want the short answer? I don't know if that is in English.
Yeah, it's funny too, Maria, when they overthink their feelings, right? Yes. They would say like, I cannot describe it, but it is this. It turned into a paragraph just describing their feelings.
Yes.
So I'm really tempted to just show them on screen, hey, this is what we got, right?
Yeah.
Like all those different feelings. What is that? Let's
Yep.
define it.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't know
but
if this is useful if you're trying to extract feelings out of people. What I did is, well, I work in tech. It's a bunch of developers. Developers have no feelings, by the way.
Yes.
But what we did is we used Miro or Mural, one of those tools, and I got the emotions block, and I had like a wheel of emotions, and on the wheel of emotions, I just put different feelings that you could have, and I asked them to think about a scenario, recent scenario, and then to randomly put their little guy or put a little marker on the emotion. No one would speak about it, no one would admit it. But we got people to actually kind of, say, yeah, that's me. It was useful as a extract emotions out of an emotionless lot. Who I love dearly.
That's
Yes,
a great idea. Right?
Yes. Well,
I'm
it's a
gonna
little
steal
bit.
that from that.
Also, it's like the smileys, knowing when you have to, is it sad or not? It's cool. And by the way, one thing, I have little girls, and they are learning more and more how to deal with emotions at school. That's something that we didn't, at least back in my time, that didn't happen. And now the feelings, emotions, wording is coming more and more. So, well, let's go for it. Thank you very much, Mark, for the session. I have to run for the next one, and talk to you soon, and see you soon. Thank you a lot. Bye bye.
Yes,
Pleasure, Maria. Thanks, Eunice. Thanks, Odette. Thanks, Dominique.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.